Just a little DIY tutorial on sharpening a saw. I am by no means a professional, so take that for what it's worth. It's how I've been doing it. It's been working rather well. So here's a little breakdown on chainsaw chains. They're basically two main components. Is you got your teeth, which are these, and in between every tooth you have rakers. The teeth do all the work, and the rakers dictate how high they cut. But there's a couple key points to keep in mind when sharpening a saw. You got your rakers, which are these little guys that are between the two teeth, and the height correlation between the top of your tooth and the top of the raker dictates how thick of cut you're taking while the saw is running. The other thing, whenever you sharpen a saw, you lower the height of the tooth, so therefore you need to lower the height of the raker. So that being said, sharpen a tooth. Most of them have a little line etched in them to let you know what angle to sharpen it.
Normally I wouldn't interject on his tutorial, but I did find a piece of footage that I could zoom in on and show you more what the scribe marks on the teeth look like in case there's any sort of confusion.
Always want to start your file on the shorter side of the tooth and go to the longer side, keeping it perpendicular to the bar and a nice straight or perpendicular parallel motion to that scribe mark, and that is it. One or two strokes I like to do, but I also like to sharpen it usually every tank of gas, every other tank of gas, to keep it continually sharp versus like having a really sharp saw and then it gets dull, it gets dull, it gets dull, and then a really sharp saw and then it gets dull. Just have it sharp all the time. Makes life a lot easier. Other thing to consider would be when sharpening, typically people are stronger with one direction versus the other. And the goal is to take off the same amount of material from both sides of the teeth because they are alternating.
I figured I'd make the tooth situation more clear when he says filing each side. He means the red versus blue. Teeth are alternating in direction, so therefore you file all of the red teeth and all of the blue teeth, if you catch my drift, not both sides of each tooth. Hopefully that clears things up a little bit.
You may need to throw another stroke in on the side you are less dominant on. Another fun fact, I guess, or helpful point is a lot of blades are marked with a colorful link, either green being a low kickback, yellow is saying it doesn't have the anti-kickback in it. So you can always start there so you have a reference point when you're sharpening once you've made it all the way around. Go through and sharpen a couple teeth, and yeah. Other thing with chains is they have different tooth designs, I guess. There's full chisel, semi-chisel, and that just refers to this outside radius. Full chisel, it would come to a 90-degree square edge. They tend to cut faster, you can get them sharper, but the drawback is they don't last as long. The corner starts wearing out, you got to sharpen them more. Versus a semi-chisel is a rounded edge, and they last longer. They don't tend to stay as sharp, but they stay sharper longer than a full chisel. It's kind of a trade-off on how you want to run your saw and what you're doing. So as far as taking rakers down, they got these little handy devices that is basically just a depth gauge to reference between the height of the two teeth and the height of the raker, where, I don't know if that's in focus, but This sits on top of your teeth, and that is where your raker is to let you know height. Teeth there, raker's in the middle. Make sure that's in the middle of your opening. Just a couple strokes with the file. Just move on to the next one. So left off on that one. Gotta do that one. Set it in the middle.
There we go.
Alright, so as you can see, this is the chain I've been using, and this is a new one. There's quite a size difference in the teeth, and every time you file it, it's only 1 or 2 strokes, and it's a brand new chain. So in order to make that one this big, that is a lot of filing and a lot of new chains. So it's a really cheap way to always have a nice sharp saw. Makes life a lot easier, it's a lot safer, a lot more efficient, and it literally only takes less than 3 minutes to just 1 or 2 strokes per tooth, go around the chain quick, and you're done. So once your saw is, or the chain has seen better days, it needs to be replaced. They're pretty easy to change. There's either a tensioner on the side of the cover, or sometimes I know Steel has them right on in here or in here. I don't remember off the top of my head, but basically what I do is just loosen up that nut, back off your tensioner, pull your nut off all the way, and of course it's not going to come off easy. This is a perfect opportunity as well. If you got an air compressor, blow out all this sawdust, clean out all the crap in there, take your chain off. And also another thing, down here, you can't even see, it's so full of dirt, but there are little ports. There's one there and one there, and that is where oil is fed in to lubricate the chain as it goes around, because it's basically riding on these rails on a film of oil. And over time, those rails, with the pressure of the chain pushing on it, they will actually start to flatten out, and you'll get a burr on there. It's typically worse on the tip of the saw, and it causes more friction. So if you really want to get fancy, prolong the life of things, and make it work at peak performance, take a file and just knock that little bit of burr off. And it also helps you from not cutting yourself, because it can get like razor sharp around that edge. Another thing, just throwing it out there, is you can alternate which side of the bar you use. It doesn't matter. Obviously you can't see the writing. It doesn't matter if it's up or down. The oiling holes are alternating, so it gets the same amount of oil. Everything works the same, top and bottom, so they are reversible. So pretty simple with the air blower. Just clean all the stuff out. Very good idea to wear safety glasses. At the bare minimum, just use safety squints. You'll be fine. I got my safety squints. Knocked out of there. Good time to take a look at this band in here, which is the chain brake, saw brake. So saw kicks back ever, that activates that, which that band wraps around the clutch, so the chain stops moving and potentially saves you from getting good idea too. Blow air in there. These fins help cool the motor. They get packed full of sawdust. It doesn't cool as well, so anything in there will restrict airflow, make your saw run hotter, can decrease the life depending on how bad it gets, how hot it gets. Every saw is a little different. They're all pretty similar. There's typically a cover on the top that you can pop off, that you can access here. Usually straight back, got your air filter. Same thing, either replace it, blow it out, just make sure it's clean so the saw can breathe. because the more air it gets, the more power or the more fuel it can burn, and the more power it can make. And it'll just run better and a lot less headaches. So apparently the safety squints were not adequate. Should have definitely put safety glasses on. I'm kind of regretting that. Right? As far as putting the bar on, it's a pretty simple process. Just slide it on, slide it all the way back. If anybody has ever told you that this has not ever happened to them and they run a saw, they are full of baloney. And I'm sure somebody out there is just laughing, saying how dumb I am right now. Other thing to keep in mind with your teeth is you always want them pointing forward from the top of the saw. So your teeth, you got the little scribe line in there.
Okay.
You want the big side pointing forward. Obviously this is a new chain, but just throw it over the back. Make sure it's down in the groove. Throw that on there. Then take the cover, put that back on, back and forth till get them in the right spot, or loosen up the tensioner some more, since that last chain was probably pretty stretched out. And it slides right out. Take and loosely snug this up. You want a whole lot of pressure on there because you still want to be able to move the bar back and forth as far as to get rid of all this slack. You just turn that tensioner in. Watch that chain tighten up. Everybody has a different way of setting chain tension. My personal preference is just pick up on it. And this is a little basically, so if there's the bottom of your chain that rides in that rail, where you pick up on it, almost like maybe like a half gallon of milk pressure, that they still stay in that channel. You don't want it super, super tight because then you're going to put excess wear on the clutch and the nose of the bar. But you don't want it super loose where it's going to throw a chain and it could be potentially a safety issue. It's very inconvenient. It's time consuming. It's just irritating. So you just got to find that happy medium where it's tight but not too tight. Good to go. Go cut some trees.